It is a noir sci-fi film that everybody copies, everybody thinks of, but it's everybody's classic. We're going to talk about Blade Runner, first time in a long time.
Welcome back to AsArt with Nick, Taylor, and John. Today we're going to talk about Blade Runner, and when we get to the end, I hope John doesn't cry. So,
like tears in rain.
Intense.
With tears in the rain and
tears
whatnot.
in the rain. Yes, it's going to be awesome. So we're going to be talking about Blade Runner, and this is the final edit so far, unless there's one next year or something. And and I've only seen it. This is probably like my fourth time watching it, like throughout my lifetime. This is like Taylor's second time, and John's 50th time. So John's a Blade Runner expert when it comes to this movie. We're going to talk about the visuals. We'll probably hit on some story plots, but this is just a taste, because we're going to do an hour-long podcast. Maybe not an hour long, but we're going to go into it.
A longer form podcast.
A longer format where we're just going to have fun talking about stuff. But let's just go into it. Taylor, this is like your second time, so it's really like your first time watching it. Did you like it?
Yeah, it really does in a way feel like my first time watching it, because I watched it with subtitles, whereas I didn't in the first viewing, and I was also in a class in the first viewing, so it really was the first time taking it all in. I really liked it with subtitles. I'll just say that I was able to wrap my head around it a lot more, because there's kind of a lot going on. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I understand people who say it's a little slow. I kind of felt that at times, but overall I think it was really intriguing and beautiful. It was really beautiful.
Yes.
And just out of curiosity, the first time you watched this in school, did you want to watch it, or was just you had to watch it in school and so you watched it? Or did you have an interest in seeing it at that point?
No, it was in a college level class, I think a 400 level class. We watched a movie every week, which is kind of horrifying to think about now. It's like, how much should I pay to watch this movie? But it was actually urban anthropology. So it was like studying urban in LA. So it kind of worked with it. So yeah, I guess I heard about it at that point and that it was classic and whatnot. So it was somewhat interested, but as interested as you can be when someone's forcing you to watch something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like this movie, you need to watch it a lot, because I feel like every time I watch it, I see something new that I didn't see before, I think I like it more every time I watch it too. Like, I remember the first time I watched it, I'm like, what's the hype on this thing? Like, are you kidding me? Like, this is what? And then then the next time, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. This is really cool. And I start to like characters more, and I start to dislike other characters more. But you know what I mean? Like,
and then you see Harrison Ford glistening in the rain, and you're like, I get why everyone loves this movie.
That, and then I don't know if it was just me this time watching it, but he makes the funniest faces when he's getting beat up.
I agree.
He does like this, like his jaw's loose. He's like, it's like, I'm like, wait, what is going on? Like, I didn't know he lost control of his face, like when he was struggling. He was like gargling. I was like, what is going on right now? I never noticed that. But, did you guys notice that?
He definitely makes some funny faces. There's a few times that I chuckle. He's like, he gets punched or something. He looks like shocked. He's like,
yeah, but like his jaw goes loose. I don't want to say it's rubber, but like it's just like it's like a prosthetic or something.
Straight up slack jaw.
But man, when he's firm though, right? When he's like, stop, stay, kiss me. It's like, whoa, dude, that's too much.
Yeah, very, very.
So
firm.
when we'll get into this more in the long form podcast, but I agree with you completely, Nick, that the first time I saw this, I did not like it at all. I finished watching it with my cousin. I rented it on Laserdisc, the only place in Orange County you could rent Laserdiscs, and we sat down and we watched it. And after it was over, we looked at each other like, what the hell was that? Like Unicorn Dreams? I'm like, what the hell is that? I hated it. And then somehow it became one of my very favorite movies. But you're right, though. It does get better as you go along, for sure, the more times you watch it. And then what did you just say right before that? I was going to address that, but I completely forgot.
When he's like stern and firm. I was like, when he says, stop, kiss me.
Oh, so when 2049 was coming out, two of my former students who are good friends now, I still talk to them all the time, even though we're not in California. They had never seen the original. So we watched the original in my home theater, and then we went and saw 2049. And I was curious to see what they were going to think when they got to the one scene where he's very firm. And after it was over, I said, so that was interesting. How they're like, yeah, it was kind of We just kinda left
can't get away with that now.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
Yes. I have a question, and it's an ongoing question all the time. Is Deckard a replicant?
Opinion is no.
No. Okay, so she's on the side of Harrison Ford. Because Harrison Ford said in that character that he was not. So
you hear that, Harrison? I'm on your side.
I mean, I think it depends. well, in whose mind? Just in the movie, or in Ridley Scott's mind, or
just in your mind? From what you saw in the movie, would you think he's a rep? Because
it depends on which version you're watching.
At times, his eyes glow. He has dreams about unicorns, and then he sees a unicorn.
So they added in that unicorn sequence in the director's cut. That wasn't in there before.
Yeah, it's actually from a different movie, right?
Well, I mean, there is way far different movies. There's a bunch of different cuts of this. There's the assembly cut, the final cut, the director's cut, the theatrical cut. I would say, based on the unicorn dream, and he didn't have any idea about unicorns, I don't think, until I think he is a replicant based on the addition of that scene. See, if it wasn't there, then it's like that so argument funny. Became popular when they added that scene in, I think.
So you're saying originally, though, he wasn't, and then he changes his mind. The director.
Either that or Ridley Scott wasn't allowed to add that into the cut because it was too confusing. Because that's one of the scenes after the movie was over with my cousin. I said, "What the hell was that unicorn sh? Whatever. What the hell was that? So it didn't make sense until I read about it later on, and then I'm like, okay, that's what that's about.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm on the side that he isn't, because they only live so long, and he's been around for a while, right? Because he's been hunting them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the newest model doesn't even know they're a replicant, but all the other models do know. Yeah. So he would technically know, because he can't be more advanced than the most advanced one yet. He'll be running on 1.6 with his update, where the new one's at 5 or something.
Well, I mean, the other big thing,
he's really weak.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The other big thing that just goes along, is it because it's just needs to be entertaining and you can't kill off your main hero, is that, well, he gets beat up pretty bad, like Nick was saying, but you can't have him be killed in the first 10 minutes, like, Psycho or whatever. So it's kind of one of those things like, did he survive getting beat up because he is a replicant, but a very weak replicant? Or it's like, you can go back and forth. Well, the podcast will go further than that. But
it's been.
I have a feeling he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't know.
He's just a crazy old man. I'm just kidding.
He's
yelling at the clouds.
He's supposed to be a pretty hard guy to work with at times, and in interviews I've heard of him, he has very strong opinions. But then again, you kind of have to stick to your visionary guns if you're doing that type of stuff. So
yeah, you got to fake it till you make it. So anything else that stuck out to you guys? I thought the connection between the actors were just bad for the love scenes. I didn't feel like they were actually in love.
Yeah, before recording, John, I was telling Nick how something other than the realness of the scene didn't feel right, something else. And I was like, let me go on Wikipedia real quick. Harrison Ford is 40 years old at the time of filming, and the woman is 21, 22. And I'm like, okay, that's what doesn't feel right about this.
Yeah. And that's happening less and less now. But I remember, what was it? The African Queen is a old Humphrey Bogart film. And the big criticism of that is like, he's way older than her, to the point where it doesn't even feel realistic. And back then, there was big difference. And so it is something you see less now.
I do have a defense for it. We just covered the movie Twilight. Edward is 300 years old.
You know what? But you can get away with it when you look like Robert Pattinson. So that's a whole separate thing.
So if you have enough surgery to look like a teenager, you're fine.
Yeah, for sure.
It's awesome.
But yeah, you know what? When I first saw that movie, when I first saw Blade Runner, my thought was, is he just viewing her as because they referred to certain replicants as pleasure models. Is he just looking at her like a pleasure model? It's like, whatever, because he's not sympathetic to her at the time. He's just like, you're a replicant, I don't care. And it's like, was he just taking advantage of her because he knows she's not a real woman? It was weird.
And she's very confused.
What's that?
And she's a very confused woman too, because she doesn't know,
her memories.
She's very vulnerable.
Vulnerable, trapped. And then let's talk about the visual stuff.
Yeah.
Gosh,
yeah,
it looks amazing. And this is before a lot of visual effects stuff was even brought into the scene, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so you got to meet the gentleman Sid Mead, right? That did a lot of the concepts. Do you want to get into that in the podcast? Do you even want to touch on that here?
Yeah, we can talk about that in the podcast. I meant like.
Okay.
Have you heard of the Blade Runner curse?
No.
It's that the brands that they show, you know, in the background, you notice Pan Am,
like Atari.
There was another one, TM something, and then Coke. You're like, oh well, Coke is around still, but it was right before they did the Coke, the really failed Coke campaign. Coke,
Zero.
Not Zero.
Yeah.
What was it called? New Coke.
The new Coca-Cola.
Yeah. So there's just like this theory I read on Wikipedia. But that to the visual part.
And I think that's probably what has the most staying power out of this. The story is really good. It's not a lot of people's preference because it is a slower film. I like longer films, so this is right up my alley. But the visuals are definitely something that you hadn't really gotten before. That's in large part to Sid Mead. But I remember I saw an interview where Ridley Scott was talking about, someone asked him, why is there so much raining? He's like, because I wanted to be fucking raining. Okay, he's like, it was my decision. Like, he was just totally unapologetic about it.
I love that though.
I love how it's always rainy and dirty. It feels so real. This world feels so real.
Yes,
it feels like you can like almost walk into it.
Yeah,
the characters feel real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's just there's so much of this that hits on all points, like where it's just really good, and even like the grittiness.
Yeah.
It just looks so good compared to like the clean Star Wars prequel movies that came out. You know what I mean? Like I love the grittiness.
Yeah.
And even current, like The Ascent is a game that just came out that's getting a lot of attention. They did cyberpunk, they did futuristic, and it looks just like there's scenes you look out, you're like, that's just like Blade Runner.
Yeah.
But that's what everybody expects. When you
Matrix.
think of cyberpunk dystopia type stuff or whatever you want to call it, that's what they're thinking of. It's like this crazy looking, beat down, run down, gritty feeling stuff, and it's perfect. I just love it.
It also looks like straight out of like an anime too, like Ghost in the Shell and stuff like that.
Ghost in the Shell, and then what is it? Akira? Is that the
Akira?
other one?
Yeah,
I haven't seen that one yet. I need to watch that. Yeah,
so good.
I'm a big fan of noir, classic Hollywood noir, neo noir, all of it. So I think that was probably my favorite part going into it is trying. I love looking for the noir aspects of movies. And Chinatown is one of my favorite movies. So I saw some parallels in it, like when he kills the first replica. Is it the first one? The one who's the dancer, for lack of a better word.
That's the first one he kills.
Yeah. So before he goes to that dancer studio strip club, I don't know what it is. Is that a strip club?
It's a show.
It's a show. Before he goes to the show, someone tells him that it's in Chinatown. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Down in first sector, Chinatown.
And then when he kills her, it was very reminiscent of Chinatown to me because she's running away and then she gets shot. So I don't know. Yeah.
Were you guys a fan of the accent or the character he put on when he was like
I'm from the Confidential Committee on Moral Abuses.
No, it was so stupid.
Were they okay with this in the edit to put this in? He was like, I'm like, what are you doing here?
I hated that.
Creepers. It's like, dude, you just gave yourself up, right? Right as soon as you did that voice, like, dude, this is terrible. And he's supposed to be the best out there catching these guys. Like, come on. He's like, yes, there's the peepholes. I'm like, what is he doing?
it is funny because, and we're going to get into this in the podcast, but he was not a fan of this film. He didn't really like it. You know, he
didn't get along with Ridley at all, right?
No, didn't get along with Ridley. He didn't really like the subject matter. Never wanted to talk about the movie for a lot of years, and then obviously he got a payday and he ended up doing the sequel. But I imagine this didn't get his best attention and effort. But then again, I still really love him in it, and I think they're like, all right, just do a fake voice. He's like, all right, you know,
yeah. And I know they're like, it's so different from all the other characters he's played.
Yeah.
He's always that like charismatic, cool guy, like who doesn't care, kind of like Han Solo to Indy. You know what I mean? Like he's just like this cool guy. Where he was very like serious in this movie.
Yeah.
And like monotone. You know what I mean? Like he's just like, okay, well, I'll run the test.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, it's like, what?
I think it still had that kind of charismatic vibe a little bit. It's when
he was eating noodles.
But you know what, Taylor, I think you're right. I think one of my favorite aspects of this is the noir feel of it. I mean, it has all of the telltale marks of a noir film. And it's funny, if I think back, this might be the first noir film I ever saw, because I hadn't been introduced to the old Humphrey Bogart films and all that stuff. I didn't know about that. And so later on, when I'm like, Venetian blinds, check, smoke, check, I'm like, but I know this, but it was Blade Runner. It was a sci-fi one. So this really is such a good job with the
lighting.
Oh, it's such a fun film.
Really cool. I love just like the harsh lighting. It's just so cool. It's so cool. All right.
And with this was after Alien, so he carried over the grittiness of Alien into this, because I remember he said he was influenced by Star Wars, how it had such a used look, and then he took that into the world of Alien, and then after that he just took it even further with Blade Runner. But it was a fun progression to see for sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so we're gonna have a longer discussion in the podcast about all of our favorite parts and the different story plots and things like that. But let us know, are you a fan of Blade Runner? Do you like longer films like that? Do you like noir films in general? Or did you think you're like, Blade Runner 2049, just not my thing? We'd be fascinated to hear down below. And check out AsArt.space for the audio and video links and see all the different type of content we have. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next AsArt.